Now, here's a good example where we use different clubs for different situations. Now, if you want to take it one step further, I want to share with you a little formula that I was given by a friend of mine, Ben Hongo, in Hawaii. And basically, it's the rule of thumb in regards to what club to choose from what distance. And it works off this. We're always concerned with two things. How far is it from the ball to the landing area? And how far is it from the landing area to the pin? If we know those two numbers, by mathematics, we can simply choose the proper club, because we know this. From a standard chipping setup, ball back, weight forward, hands forward, your typical sand wedge, which is 56 degrees, should give you an air to ground ratio of 1:1. So to put that in application, if I'm 10 steps from my ball to the landing area, which we said is within the first 3 feet of the green, and then it's another 10 steps from the landing area to the pin, well, the sand wedge is the club, because it's going to give me an air to ground ratio of 1:1. Along that same pattern, your standard pitching wedge is going to give you an air to ground ratio of 1:2. Your 9 iron, 1:3, 8 iron, 1:4, 7 iron, 1:5, and so on. So you can kind of see how that would be helpful in regards to what club you're trying to choose. So to put that into context, if I'm 5 steps off the green and it's another 25 steps from the landing area to the pin, well, that's a 1:5 ratio. There's my 7 iron. So not to say this is an exact science, but it's pretty close. So I would definitely encourage you to play with it. Now, one last point I want to bring up in regards to fine-tuning your chipping stroke is that we know that when you move the ball back in the stance, you deal off the club, which encourages more roll, and vice versa. If you move the club up in the stance, it adds more loft, so it limits the roll. So moving the ball up and back in the stance is something good players do all the time. We're doing it to really fine-tune the shot. Now, how you would apply that is going back to our model. Let's say it's, again, 5 steps from the ball to the landing area, but it's 27 steps from the landing area to the pin. Now wait a minute. 5 into 27 goes 5 times with 2 left over? Well, yeah, because if I go 1:5 and I choose the 7 iron, it's going to only roll out 25 steps. That means I'm going to be 2 steps short of my target. So how in the world am I going to make up those 2 steps? Well, yeah, you guessed it. I'm simply going to move the ball a little bit further back in the stance to give it that extra little bit of roll. The idea here is that we can get really creative with this. The landing area ratio is going to give me a basic platform to work from, and then I can, depending on my mood and my preferences, choose a club and change the amount of roll back and forth in the stance to give me the roll I need. Another application you might see for that is, let's say it measures out exactly 1:5, but it's uphill. So I need a little bit more oomph. Well, I could go one more club up, so instead of using the 7, I could use the 6, or I can just move the ball back in the stance. Gives me a little bit more roll. Or, if you know me, I might do both. So the idea here is we want to give you a lot of options as to how you can change the roll on these chip shots. But again, keep this in mind, no matter what club you choose to use for a chip shot, because you can use any of the 14 that you own, yes, including the driver. You need to control the model, which says it has to spend the majority of the time on the ground, so it has to be a rolling ball flight. So just because I've got a pitching wedge doesn't mean I'm going to hit it high. It still has to land and run just like a 7 iron would. So I want you to have fun with this stuff. Always keep in mind, chipping is a great stroke saver. It's probably a shot you don't see as much anymore, but we use it a lot in and around the greens, and we also use it from further distances, 20, 30, even 40 yards out. We don't necessarily call it a chip anymore as much as it's referred to as a bump and run, but it's still the same process. It's a low trajectory approach shot. And when we get into distance wedges, we'll talk about that as well. Being able to hit 7 iron, 6 irons from 50, 40 yards out to create the same effect, just at a bigger degree.